Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fadeaway Podcast, where we discuss all the latest basketball news, trends, and the hottest takes. I'm Ben, one of your co-hosts, and I've been watching basketball since around 2012. And my favorite team is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Hey guys, I'm Hisham and I'm your other co-host on this podcast. I've been avidly watching basketball since 2010 and I'm excited to break down a very, very busy NBA schedule with you guys. And I'm a diehard Celtics fan. But you know what? Let's just get started with our first topic and dive right into it, the Mavs Clippers series.
We got Game 7 coming up.
Oof, this is
Thoughts?
going to be intense. Oh
Who do
man,
you have taking this one? Who do you have taking this one?
if I go with the trends, it's, the away teams won every
Road
game here.
team,
It's insane.
road court advantage.
Road team. I was seeing that it's the first time that it's ever happened 6 times in a row. It had happened 5 times in a row with Kenny the Jet Smith and his Houston Rockets. But 6 times, I mean, it's never happened. Kawhi went insane in Game 6,
Yeah.
45 points. He couldn't miss a shot. He was like ISOing Luca every possession. It was just, it was money. So I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna have to go with the trends and say Luca has a big comeback game, something like 40, 10, and 10.
Wow.
Takes this Mavs team to a Game 7 win. But I don't know, man. If Kawhi is gonna continue this hot streak, then you never know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it took an unreal game from Kawhi and a mediocre game by Luka's standards for them to win that game, and then they only won it by like 8 points.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, this Mavericks team doesn't seem to have a lot besides Luka Doncic. When you really look
yeah.
at it, when their second best scorer is Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't see them maybe going very far in this playoffs, but I think they do have a solid. I agree with the idea that they'd win this game 7 and take it home. But
My only sort of thought here was that I thought I was watching this game pretty closely, uh, and I saw that the Clippers might have figured something out here. There was like
mhm,
always double teams on Luca. He just wasn't. I mean, it's not like he was that inefficient tonight. He just didn't take that many shots.
yeah,
I mean, they were just making him get rid of the ball, making Finney Smith and Jalen Brunson and Hardaway Jr. I mean, Kristaps was passive. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I just feel like Luca's gonna figure a way out of this thing. But I mean, on the Clippers side, Reggie Jackson has been out of this world. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know where he's come from. And I know people don't want him taking shots, but he's got like 20 last game, something like 20 again this
yeah,
game. He's just jacking up the
and he's
threes.
efficient.
He's efficient. And they're trying to make him beat them, but he's making the shots. So,
Yeah,
so I don't know from a defense point of view what to do for the Mavs. I'm a bit sick of watching Marjanovic playing like large minutes.
yeah.
I, I don't know what your take is on that, but I mean, how many times are you just going to feed him into the post and he's going to miss these little baby hook shots? I mean, it's just I'm sick of watching it. Uh, I mean, but I don't know. Porzingis hasn't been very effective. Cauley Stein hasn't been very effective, so I guess they're just searching for options.
Yeah. No, I think that's right on the money. I mean, the way the Mavs are winning every other game of this series was just Luka getting one-on-one opportunities and being able to go to work. And I don't know why it took this long for the Clippers to figure out that that's what they have to do. But I think if they can make Tim Hardaway Jr. and I don't know Porzingis, who have been a no-show most of this series, if they can make them beat them, I think then they still have a chance. But Luka, he's in his young career, he's proven that he's been able to kind of take these decisive games and play important minutes and score when it matters. So I I like their chances, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as it was before.
No, agreed. I think Porzingis has got to show up. I mean, it was difficult for me watching Game 6. It was like even when he was calling for the ball, no one was passing it to him. Like it just seemed like they weren't really aligned with each other
Yeah,
in terms of what his role is and stuff. And he's basically become like a glorified spot up shooter who's 7'3", and it's just
yeah,
like, what are you doing? if he has like a 6'3" guy on him, he can't even back him down. I mean, I don't understand. He'll just like turn away and shoot a fadeaway jump shot. I mean, that's on. I mean, it's just, it's hard to watch. I don't know. Luka needs some help. Tim Hardaway's been great. Don't get me wrong. I think he's been really good this series. He struggled a bit. He was really good in Game 6, but when they needed him to hit the shots, he was missing a few.
Yep.
And I feel like they just can't put Luka on the bench. They just can't do it. They
No,
put
you
him on the
can't.
bench, and they're just horrible. So I don't know what the solution is. But from the Clippers side, I mean, Paul George has been decent. He's
Yeah.
not been crazy, but he's been pretty efficient.
Playoff P.
Yeah, playoff
He
P,
came-
not
he
way
came
off
to
P
play.
so far. Yeah, he came to play, so he's been good. I think he's getting a lot of rebounds. That was one thing I noticed, like 12 rebounds last game. He's been, really efficient on the boards, pushing the pace. He's handling the rock. Kawhi obviously has been absolutely out of his world. The shooting
He just felt like he couldn't miss last game.
Incredible.
Every shot he
Incredible.
took, I was just guaranteed it was going in. One of those nights that when he has it, it's hard for them to lose. But
I mean, he's
He can't
been
have it.
amazing the whole series. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because I feel like one of his issues is the stamina. I mean, do you think he can keep this up and play
Yeah.
like 40 minutes in Game 7 or whatever?
Yeah.
So who's your pick after all that?
I think I'm still going with the Mavs. I think I'll take. They got the road court advantage throughout the series, and I think Luka's gonna show up this time. I think hopefully they're looking back at the tape, figuring out what the Clippers did to kind of contain him. And I mean, even contain him, like a bad night for him is what, like 30 points, 29 points, and still efficient shooting. I think if he just has a slightly better night, and if Kawhi doesn't miss 0 shots, I think they got a good chance to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I'm still going Mavs. I think it's partially because I'm a bit biased and I kind of want the Mavs to win, but I want the Clippers curse to continue. But I think they've got a real shot. But I think it's going to be one hell of a game. I think most people sort of predicted 6, maybe 7 in this series, and it's proved to be, Luka's just a pain to deal with. So.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And move on to a series that's already concluded.
Oof.
Lakers Suns.
Oh man.
Tough loss for LeBron. First round of the playoffs. Not
Never
what
seen that
anyone
happen.
could have expected, really, from the defending champs, but mix of injuries, Kyle Kuzma and Dennis Schroeder getting minutes,
Oh gosh.
and AD getting hurt again
Yeah.
makes it tough. But to give credit to the Suns, they have figured out what they need to do to win. They've got a great offense headed by one of the best point guards of all time, who, when you look at the stats, doesn't seem to do that much, but Chris Paul's just presence and ability to break down defenses opens up so much for Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges, even, who's skyrocketed into, like, from an initial, like, bench role player to, like, a solid starter on a playoff team.
Yeah, agreed. I think let's look at this from a Suns angle firstly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Lakers, injuries, whatever. But the Suns won this series. And they were good. I mean, even the games that I think they lost, it was mostly because of, like, Chris Paul injuries, or just like shots weren't falling, something wasn't right. But I mean, the games that they won, they outright won them. They just look like a cohesive unit, and they've looked like that all year long. CP3 has played a really, sort of like the mature leadership role, trying to get Booker involved. He's just so savvy and so smart with the way that he plays, getting defenders on his back, getting the right shots, getting them up for the pump fake. He's still doing, and his mid-range is still one of the best in the world. But my biggest takeaway from this series has been DeAndre Ayton. Number 1 pick, all the hype, all the drama, big expectations, hasn't really made that much of a mark so far in his career. DeAndre Ayton was 16-11 this year in the playoffs against against a very good, big Lakers team.
And against Anthony Davis when he was playing.
Against Anthony Davis, even Andre Drummond, Marc Gasol, these are bigs that have been in the league for a while, have been all-stars. It's a really impressive performance from him, and I'm really excited to see him grow and continue to show this sort of dominance, hopefully in the next series. But he was really good. I mean, Devin Booker, we know. I think we just needed to see him in the playoffs and see if he sort of, could handle the pressure and all of that, which he obviously exceeded expectations. I mean, 30 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He had 47 in the closeout game. I mean,
that's what you got to do. Come out, hit 6 threes in the first quarter.
Oh, God.
That you go up by like 30. It's just how you demoralize a team. And Lakers were not a team that can deal with adversity. Throughout the season, as soon as LeBron goes down, they went from the second seed to barely in the playoffs playing. I don't know if it's a chemistry thing, just not the right players, a coaching thing. One thing was how many minutes Drummond got instead of Marc Gasol was the big one. Where I racking my brain to figure out why you would play this man. Yeah, my boy Marc Gasol, who we know is a good defender, who can actually defend these bigs like DeAndre Ayton, and maybe not score on them, but he can hit a three. He can knock down a three and pull him out of the paint and allow LeBron to get to the basket a bit easier. But when you just have a Andre Drummond who just sits under the basket and calls for the ball one-on-one with LeBron on your team.
Yeah. But I think from the other side, I mean, what do you make of last year Lakers won the championship, everything was good. They got a bunch of new players, and we all thought they've improved their squad. They're coming back stronger.
This team's better, but I don't know. I think it comes down to one, Danny Green. I think he gets way more shit than he needs to because he's a streaky shooter, sure, and couldn't hit a shot the last playoffs. But I mean, they won, right? So I don't think it was in spite of him, but he plays quality minutes. He defends infinitely better than
your best
shooter. He's a good defender. Probably wouldn't lock down Booker, but could probably make those shots a bit easier. One thing I noticed is, Devin Booker was playing well, but almost all of his shots were wide open. He just wasn't being defended. He was just getting wide open shots. And for a defensive-minded team like the Lakers supposedly were, they were not able to force any bad shots. Every shot that the Suns took, even if they missed it, was almost wide open. They're just breaking down defensively. And Dennis Schroeder does not offer anything on that in the court. And I mean, Wesley Matthews maybe did 5 years ago, but he's out of his prime. He's not going to be a huge contributor on a deep run playoff team.
No, I mean, we thought it's LeBron and AD and they can carry them to everything, and they probably still could have taken them pretty far in this playoffs if they were both fully healthy. I think Anthony Davis first. Oh man, is there a game that he doesn't get injured in? There's at some point in every game. Yeah, I mean, it's just he'll go down holding his knee, holding his shin, holding his foot. I mean, it's just holding his groin. It's a new thing every game, every series, every playoffs, and it's just he's ridiculously talented. There's probably not a player like him in the league. No. But is this guy going to be healthy to actually take you to the promised land, where you need to go? I mean, to have LeBron, I know LeBron as well was not superhuman in these playoffs like we've been accustomed to for the past few years. But I think he's also not 100%. And, he probably was struggling to drive to the rim a bit, settling for outside jumpers, and it's kind of sad to see that. I hope it's not I don't think it's a decline. I think it's more injury based, also a bit of frustration with the team and all of that. But nobody else could hit a shot. Oh, it's bad. I don't think
not getting back on defense after even made shots, not getting back. As much slack as I want to give him, it's sure, I can understand maybe preserving your body because you're getting older. You don't know how many years you still have left, and this is not your championship. Once Anthony Davis goes down, LeBron knows that this team isn't, even if they win this series, they're not going any further.
Yeah.
he's unable to do what he used to and score like 45 points in a game to
Yeah.
take it home. Too much of a toll on his body that he wouldn't be able to keep that
Yeah.
up for an entire playoffs. But
But
I'm
what's
sure he's
crazy
also what?
is we think that LeBron had an absolutely rubbish series, and then you go and look at his stats, and he's 23, 7, and 8, like
Yeah.
38% from three, and it's just that's not what you saw on the court. I mean, what you saw on
No.
the court was like passive LeBron, upset LeBron, leaving the court. Did you see that when he left the court,
Leaving the court
like in the
early, yeah.
third or fourth quarter? I mean,
No
what is
handshakes.
that? No handshakes.
It's yeah. I mean, he's done it before with worse teams, and granted, that was it was in the East, and it was at a time where I don't think the talent in the league was as good as it is now. I think the league
Yeah.
is probably more talented now than it's maybe ever been, in just
Yeah.
terms of like really good basketball players out there. And it's as much as we want to say it's like a superstars league, I think it's more of a like a cohesive team effort now than it ever has been before. Like no longer can one star player take a team single-handedly, not only to the finals, but through the first round of the playoffs. I mean, every one of these teams that does well has multiple players who play at all-star caliber levels
Yeah.
and make
Agreed.
shots. And the Lakers just don't have that. I mean, after AD goes down, who's your next option? Like
It's
Kentavious
horrible.
Caldwell Pope? Like
And he's also injured. I mean, it was just there's no one to give the ball to. Kuzma is just. I mean, I don't even want to talk about Kuzma. Kuzma makes me upset every time I hear his
wanted
name.
him
It's like,
more than Brandon Ingram. Remember a
yeah.
time?
Oh,
It's I mean, Schroeder also just I mean, he was
no show.
he put up stats on bad teams, and I mean
But I have to
he's
say, Schroeder
been
looked okay throughout the year, and he's just in the playoffs. He's kind of just disappeared. Like just when you needed the extra scoring from him, Davis goes down, and he's kind of absent.
yeah, just not. I mean, what his offense gave was not worth the negative he was on defense. Like
Yeah, and I
he
know
has
he
to be
tries to be a
scoring more
pest, and he,
than
he goes
yeah.
for the full court press and everything, but he doesn't really contest the shots and
No,
stuff as much, right?
no, and they just even like 6 man of the year Montrezl Harrell. Like I think they'd be better off
Oh,
with Dwight
no.
Howard in this series. Like
Yeah,
just a guy who proved that he's good and he knows how to play, but just doesn't do what they need him to do. And
yeah.
I honestly think looking back at it, this team would have been better running it back from
Mm.
what they had last year. Would have probably been in a better spot. Granted, AD goes down. I still don't think they have a chance, but they're in a rough spot. I don't know what they're going to do next year. Like
Yeah, that's what I
their
was gonna
cap
ask. What's
situation is
your
bad.
yeah? I mean, if you're LeBron, what are you thinking?
I think you're thinking you need to get AD some robotic legs so he can stay on the court and they can actually win because I don't know.
Yeah,
We always say like, oh, he needs help, and I don't think anyone can really knock LeBron for this series,
yeah,
performance wise, attitude wise, sure, but I don't think there's any player in the league that goes on this team and they actually go far in the playoffs.
yeah.
I don't know what it takes for this team to kind of turn the
Oof.
corner, change it up. New coaching, maybe new depth. I mean, like the depth looked good on
The
paper, but
depth is horrible.
proved to not be anything.
Yeah,
On a start Caruso, like he plays with more
yeah,
hustle on that team than anybody else.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think he deserves more minutes than Kuzma.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to
Also,
see.
but yeah, I think it's also a bit of a weird year with. I mean, when was the last time LeBron was the 7th seed? I mean, like he's having to go up against
Yeah,
these really hungry Phoenix Suns in the first round, and obviously it didn't work out. But I mean, it was a bit of an odd year with him getting injured. He doesn't really get injured that much.
yeah,
AD going down for a while. They kind of had to, stay afloat without them. Make it to the playoffs was enough of a challenge. They were in the play-in game, if we don't forget. So
Yeah, almost didn't make the
yeah,
playoffs. The Warriors, I
almost didn't
think, would
make
have
it.
had a better shot against the Suns.
Yeah, maybe you never know. At least seeing Steph go over 50 would have given people some joy. But uh, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Season's over. I know LeBron's gonna. I think he made a joke about the Olympics and said that he was gonna
He's
spend
got the
the
goon
summer with the
squad
Tune
to focus
Squad.
on.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's just gonna take it easy, which he needs. I think the other thing was no rest, right? After last season, kind
Yeah,
of went
not really.
straight into the next season.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it's a recover and bounce back here next year for LeBron and the Lakers. I just think they need to make a lot of moves for the side pieces because
Yep.
apart from him and AD, I mean, I don't know how many people on that roster need to stay for next year. All right, why don't we move on to one of the hottest players of the playoffs, Damian Lillard. Oh man,
Dame
uh,
times came to an early end for what, the
Dame
fifth
time.
time?
Oh wow. 4 times in his last five playoffs. I think he's been knocked out in round one.
Yep. And
Oof.
he has the most memorable performances usually of anyone in any series he plays in, but they just don't have what it takes. It's you think the whole problem like 2 years ago when Nurkic hurt. Okay, once we get Nurkic back, we're good. He's playing. They still can't win. I mean, we don't know if it's a coaching thing. Stotts is already out. He's gone. So
Stotts is
we'll
gone.
see what they
Yeah.
look like with new coaching. But I don't know if that was really their issue.
I mean, he said he wants Jason Kidd in there, but what has Jason Kidd proven in his very
No,
short
nothing.
but not impressive coaching career? Um, there's so much to say here. I think Damian Lillard. Wow, I know he's getting his plaudits. He was great, 55 points, and that was it. Game 5, right?
Yep.
And they didn't even
Absolutely
win that game. He
wasted
was out of
all-time
his mind.
performance.
Yeah,
All-time
one of
performance
the
in the
best
playoffs.
shooting performances I've ever seen in my life. He was hitting step backs. He was pulling up from the logo. I mean, there was nothing he wasn't doing. He missed like 7 shots. He was 12 for 17 from three. I mean, that's like video game numbers.
He couldn't miss it. And then they lose.
Couldn't miss, and they lose. And
Absolutely
you
wasted.
lose. And please, I mean, just humor me for a second. Who has right now in this Denver Nuggets and Portland Trailblazers series, who had better health, Jokic or Lillard?
Better help? Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Michael Porter Jr. as my number 2
Okay,
over
yeah,
anybody.
but what about the rest of the squad on Denver? Yeah, everyone's injured. I mean,
Yeah,
if you can beat
it's
this team
embarrassing. They should not lose a team that has
with Campazzo as the starting point guard,
Campazzo as your starting, Austin
Austin
Rivers,
Rivers, who didn't have a contract until like a month ago,
and then I don't like Paul
Jermichael
Millsap, who's
Green
like
or whoever
80.
it is. Yeah,
I mean, this Nuggets team was at its probably most beatable
yes.
than they've ever been, and they couldn't take them down. I
No, it's
mean,
embarrassing, to be honest. I mean, as much as I want to give Lillard the plaudits, and yes, it was a great performance. He was great throughout the playoffs, don't get me wrong. 34 points a game, 10 assists per game. What was he shooting? Like 45% from three. I mean, this is unreal numbers. But at the same time, I mean, you've got CJ McCollum. Robert Covington was like the acquisition of the offseason last year,
was
even though
supposed to,
we thought that it wasn't that great of an acquisition.
No.
But you have Nurk. I mean, I don't understand.
Who
like
they? I
this,
mean, like, I don't know who makes a difference there. Like, is it?
I mean, did you see his recent Instagram post? What did he say? He was like, basically, in nice words, he was like, "What do I need to do to win?"
Nipsey Hussle quote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I don't know what he needs. I'm actually pretty confused. I think he needs to leave. But I mean, he's like the most loyal.
I don't think he will. There's no chance he does. But I don't know. I mean, do you trade McCollum? Is that the issue? Like, I don't.
I mean, they don't. I mean, okay, Damian Lillard is great offensively, right?
True.
Defensively, he's not that good.
No.
And and neither is CJ, and that's where they get destroyed, right? I mean, they let in like basically like the most points per game.
Yeah.
They were in the playoffs. Like they're a horrible defensive team. Carmelo Anthony's on that team. Like he's old. He can't laterally really move that much.
Have you
At one point,
seen?
he was guarding Jokic. I mean, what are you doing?
I think Carmelo now has tied for the most first round exits of anyone in NBA
Oh
history.
wow.
It just I mean he drops points, but on like I don't know plus minus of like -20, and it's I don't know what else, I mean their forwards like their front court can't hang with the likes of like Jokic or a healthy Anthony Davis, or even like I don't know how Jokic would do against DeAndre Ayton at this point, but like
Yeah.
I don't know who they have. Ennis Cantor.
Oh
I don't know.
god. I
Has
mean,
Harry
Ennis
Giles
Cantor's
stepped on the NBA court in a
unplayable.
while? Like
Oh no.
they don't have any kind of like good presence down low that can really kind of be like a solid defensive kind of like rock for them. And
Yeah. No, and I mean, I don't know if you heard about the Nurkic comments after the game. He was like basically like, I don't know if I'm coming back next year. I'm out of a contract, and Rich Paul is my agent, and seemed to make that really clear to the reporters. But I mean, if I was him, why would I go back? This team is going nowhere. I
you
mean,
know,
if I want to win
treading
anything,
water.
why do I go to? Yeah, it's just like we're always going to be the 7th seed or 6th seed or 8th seed, and then we're somehow like, if we're lucky, Lillard's going to have a crazy playoffs, and we might like make it past
Yeah.
the first round. And if not, then we're done.
Yeah, I mean the championship for the Trailblazers was knocking out the Thunder. That was their title.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
their biggest
wave.
moment. And if that, I mean, for the ownership, I don't know. Is that all they want? They get fans and seats. You still get the ticket sales. You get
Yeah, the
jerseys
revenue.
sold.
Yeah,
But as a player, like I can't imagine Damian Lillard doesn't want to win a ring more than pretty
yeah,
much anything else
I
right
know.
now. But at what point does it become more important than staying loyal to your team?
Yeah,
Because
I
we've
think that's the
seen with almost every big star is the ring is the most important thing. And if
yeah, yeah,
I'll give you however many years, I'll give you my first big, huge contract to get it done. And if you don't, then it's what else do you want me to do? I want to go win a ring. So I'm going to go team
yeah,
up with one of my friends somewhere else and we'll do it.
yeah, yeah.
And it sucks because these small market
Oof.
teams are never going to be able to land those kind of like big
Yeah,
superstars in free agent signings. So I feel bad because like
yeah,
I feel bad for the like Portland fans, for the players, because they want to win obviously, and they just don't have what it takes, and you're not going to have what it takes unless you get another big free agent signing. Like trading
yeah,
McCollum for someone else can make the team better, but it's not
yeah.
going to win them a championship.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, where do you go if Nurkic signs somewhere else and you trade CJ McCollum? I mean, you have no big, and you have a guy who's new on the team, even if it's a star. I mean,
Yeah,
it would just be strange. And I don't know at this point what you get back from McCollum. I mean, he's a great player, don't get me
yeah.
wrong. But he's still, I mean, he's a bit small. He's still kind of weak on defense. Like, is he someone? I don't know who could even use a CJ McCollum at this point, and what the Blazers could get in return to really make them jump a step. I'm not even saying become finalists, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like at least get to the second round
Win
consistently.
a playoff
You
series.
have
Yeah.
you have Damian Lillard on your team, for God's sake. I mean, oh, it's rough to watch. I really feel for him. He's given it his all, and it's just. I mean, I don't know if you saw in Game 5. I mean, the couple of times he's passed the ball, Covington steps out of bounds. Covington
It
misses
was
a dunk.
tragic.
McCollum steps out of bounds. I mean, it's just,
Backcourt violations.
oh god. I mean,
It's rough.
it's
It
disgraceful.
reminds me of like LeBron with those Cavs teams before he leaves, like
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
J.R. Smith run out of clock in a tie
yeah.
game,
Oh god.
or like it's you're in the league now is at a point where you need help to win. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not winning a championship by yourself. It's impossible. Like you need multiple stars to win a championship. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there are a lot of rumors about the big market team sort of keeping an eye on Lillard and his mood, I guess, in Portland, as as time continues on. But let's see. I mean, this could be an interesting offseason. Imagine if they get rid of Lillard and sort of just start a rebuild, or they keep Lillard and just get rid of everything else around it. I mean, Portland needs to do something this offseason because
They
this
need to make
is
moves.
it's. I've had enough. I mean, I've had enough. I'm pretty sure the fans have had enough of this. It's going nowhere.
Need to get back on the Harry Giles face of the franchise train.
Oh God! And because they made the playoffs, they probably don't even have a lottery pick or anything to back them up.
This is such an awful kind of like limbo to be in because it's so hard to make your team better. You don't get a good pick, and you don't get very far in the playoffs, so you're stuck. And you don't really get to sign that many big name players, so it's tough. Maybe get that Dame LeBron team up that we've been waiting for.
Oof. Wouldn't that be something to see? Man, I feel like, I don't know. The only thing I think about is, are stars still really excited to pair up with LeBron, or is it more like he's getting old? Like, I don't know if I go there and he retires like next year, or like he starts declining. Yeah. Like, what's my future going to be like?
I think at least, I mean, I'm sure the players have a much different perspective than fans.
Yeah,
because if you're a player, I think there's nothing more that you want to have in a teammate than someone who makes everyone around you better. I would be surprised if LeBron wasn't on most players' like short list of players who you'd want to play with. Someone who isn't going to just chuck shots, who is going to drive and draw 3 or 4 defenders on him and then give you an open 3. I don't think there's anything more you like than that. But the point is that you don't know how long he's going to be there. You sign a 5-year contract, 6-year contract.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there the whole time, and who knows what happens once he's gone.
No, and your point is right. I mean, I think this year, even though they weren't great, he showed that he can play off the ball, right? So, for example, someone like Lillard goes there. LeBron can still play off the ball and figure stuff out, while Lillard handles the rock and the majority of the responsibilities. So yeah, no, I think potentially, let's see what happens with that Lillard situation. Do you want to just touch on the Nuggets real quick? What did you think of them in this series?
They have probably the MVP on their team. Always good to have. Michael Porter Jr., I know he's your guy, is playing much better than I think I or most people expected for his third year in the league at this point, showing up in big playoff games, dropping 20, 25 points. But yeah, it's crazy to me that they're able to do this without Murray. I mean, I don't see this kind of continuing like further on. Like, I mean, who do they have next round? I
think they play the Suns.
The Suns, right? I think at the beginning of the season, you say it's a Suns-Nuggets matchup. You're saying sweep. You say Nuggets easy win. But I think this series could be close. I think it could be 6 or 7 games. And
oh wow,
I don't know if the Nuggets have enough to kind of put away the Suns. Like, I mean, yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't know. I mean, the Suns have experience. They've got a veteran presence with Chris Paul, and I mean the Nuggets. I mean, they have a kind of veteran and some experience, but not really that much. It's only been about a few years of them like making deep playoffs runs, but nothing really substantial.
Yeah, no, I think I want to give credit to the Nuggets. I think going into the series, Jamal Murray's out, Will Barton's out. I mean, your team is basically like really dilapidated and like really not I mean, if you look at that team, you're like, no way this team made the playoffs. It's Jokic and like Austin Rivers, Campazzo. I mean, I don't even know who else is on that team. JaMychal Green,
Monte Morris. Come on, man.
Monte Morris, of course, the spark off the bench.
He did play really good minutes.
He played really well. Credit to those small guards because they were outstanding in this series. But I mean, I was like, okay, it's Monte Morris, Campazzo, and Rivers versus Lillard and McCollum. This shouldn't even be close. Like, I know Jokic is there, but this shouldn't even be close. And they really surprised me. Austin Rivers, I have to say, wow. I mean, what a pickup this guy just he's not afraid of the moment. He hits the biggest threes. I'm sure he's shooting really high percentage from three. It looked like every time he got the ball in the fourth quarter, it was going to go in.
Yeah.
I mean, he was amazing. Monte Morris, wow. Off the bench, he was giving like 20 points a game in the last couple of games. Insane. And Jokic, obviously, right? I mean, wow. Nikola Jokic, I don't know what else there's to say. He's
Yeah.
a center, a point center, essentially. I mean, his passing vision behind the back, I mean, behind the head, like
reminds me of LeBron, of just being able to see and kind of like Chris Paul shades of knowing where everyone is on the court at all times.
Yeah. No, it's
something you don't see that much anymore in the league.
Yeah.
There's not very many players who can do that.
No. And lastly, I want to take a moment to just talk about Michael Porter Jr. I've been his fan since day one, and I'm so happy to see him showing up. He's been outstanding. I think the only thing is he needs a bit more shots. I would say even the games. I think it was either last or second last game of the series. He had 26 points. He shot 10 for 13. I mean, your second best player should be taking more than 13 shots. I think probably. He just doesn't seem to shoot that much. I don't know if they're covering him because they're willing to let other people take more shots. Might have been a Portland game plan, but I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive in the next series for them to have a chance. Unlike you, I think this is going to be an easy series for the Suns. I think it's Suns in 5, maybe Suns in 6.
Wow.
Because I really have faith in Aiden. I don't think he's going to stop Jokic, obviously, but I think if they can neutralize him to some extent, you're going to let Rivers and Campazzo and whatever shoot you out of the building, probably. So, and the Suns are just good defensively. I mean, they have basically everything. They're super well balanced. As long as there are no injuries, I'm rolling with the Suns. Suns in 6, I'm going to say.
Suns in 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with pretty much every point you've made, but I feel like when it comes down to it, having that MVP on your team helps tremendously. I think Jokic won't have as easy a time against Ayton as he did against like a Nurkic, but I think he'll still get his. And as long as he's aggressive and taking shots and not kind of passing up too many shots to his teammates, I think he'll be able to at least win almost single-handedly, at least 1 or 2 games for this Nuggets team. And then it just comes down to whether the others can hit shots.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues the Suns have and will have is that these 3-point barrage teams always have the issue where you go cold a game, you're going to lose. We've seen it with the Jazz, who dropped the game after shooting about like 20% from 3. You're always liable to just drop at least 1 game, maybe 2 in a series on a cold shooting night. And if those nights kind of stack up, you get 1 or 2 games of bad shooting plus 1 or 2 Jokic games of just kind of taking over. I have Nuggets in 7. I think they can do it.
Wow.
I think Michael Porter is going to show up. Not going to match Devin Booker, of course, but I think he's got the same kind of confidence in him where he believes that he's the best player on the floor. Maybe he's not, but he thinks that he has the ball, he can score. And I think that's what you need in the playoffs pretty much is that confidence, knowing that you can kind of take over a game. So I think it'll be an interesting series. I don't think it's going to be easy one way or the other. I give the Nuggets a good shot.
All right, fair enough. All right, with that, let's transition to our last segment of the day. The Nets and the Bucks play tonight. Ben,
Game 1.
Who are you taking in Game 1? This is the matchup we've all been waiting for.
I think this is going to be the best series. This is my finals. This is going to be the best series of the playoffs, I think, by far. Probably some of the best players in pretty much that are left
the league
in the playoffs right now. I do think that the Bucks will take Game 1, though. I think the Nets could win the series. I think they will. But I think the Bucks are still more cohesive unit. I mean, the Nets sure have better talent, but I mean, they don't look as cohesive as if they've been playing together that long, because in reality they haven't. They haven't been playing as a team, all the big three plus everyone else, for that
Yeah.
many games. And we've shown that. I mean, they've dropped games in the playoffs in the
Yeah.
last series
Yeah.
versus Celtics, who you don't think they should. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, took a legendary performance by Jason Tatum, but I think Giannis could do that, if not better. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how well the KD Giannis matchup is going to go. I think Giannis, more so than anybody, has a chance to kind of not lock down, but defend KD better,
Yeah.
just due to his size and length. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a hard guard for KD to be able to keep up with Giannis. He's just stronger than him.
He's gonna run at you.
His way, yeah. Brook Lopez has been playing out of his mind for pretty much the past year at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to be able to put on him. Like, I don't think DeAndre Jordan can guard him out on the 3-point line.
No.
Maybe Claxton, but I don't know if they'll have a chance. I can very easily see Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton dropping like 25 to 30 points and then taking this first game, just kind of shooting lights out right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see. Like you said, this is the series we've all been waiting for, right? I mean, these are the heavyweights in the East. I think, for me, what's exciting is I also have Milwaukee taking game one. For me, what's exciting is it's like they built Milwaukee to slow down Brooklyn. It's
without
like
even knowing what the team was going to be, which is
without even knowing it. Exactly, which is crazy. So you can put Holiday on either Harden or Kyrie. You can put Middleton on either Harden or Kyrie, and you put Giannis on KD, and the rest can defend the rest. I mean, it's crazy. And so I just think, like you said, more cohesive unit. Holiday for me is just, my goodness. I mean, we knew he was
what
good,
a pickup, really. Like, we knew it was big, but we didn't realize how big it was until.
I think we didn't realize because we never really cared about the teams that he was on. It was like, Jrue Holiday's a good defender. Yeah, he's good in the playoffs.
On the Pelicans.
Jrue Holiday's a great defender. Yeah. And he is, I mean, insane. He's just, I feel like he's changed more so the mentality, the ability to have like an elite ball handler, a good shooter, because Bledsoe was not that. And that was huge, right? To change. Middleton's been, Middleton's always pretty solid, I would say.
Yeah.
Giannis, just FYI, has been just tearing apart the Nets in the regular season, like 50 plus points in a couple of games. I mean, the Nets don't really have a defense. I mean, if the Celtics, as a Celtics fan, I don't know how we got a game. I mean, we didn't even have Kemba.
I'll be with you there. I have no idea either.
How did we get a game?
The gentleman's sweep, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the Nets, I watched the first series really closely with Boston, obviously, and they can ISO their way to 120 points. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But they're playing against a much better defensive team, much, much better. My only concern for Milwaukee is if they decide to put KD at the 5 or something crazy like that, or Jeff Green if he's back from injury. I'm not sure about that. I think we'll find out. What do we do with Brook Lopez? Yeah, he might be great offensively, but can he guard the 3-point line? That would be something I'd be looking to see in the series. Yeah. But who have you got for, I guess, the MVP of the series, and what's your final take on how many games this is going to go?
I think this will be a 7-game series. I mean, they seem so evenly matched.
Yeah.
The Bucks are definitely going to win a few games solely based off just 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
The Nets will win a game. I mean, the thing is, the Nets have more opportunity, or just like a better chance for like an explosive performance. Giannis, of course, can drop 50 in a game, but both Kyrie, Harden, and KD have, on any given night, could just easily go for 40, 50 points. It's, you don't know when it's going to happen, but even against the best defenders in the league. I mean, we're in a league right now where good offense will beat good defense, where James Harden, even against a Jrue Holiday, a good game for Drew Holiday is holding Harden to like 25 points on slightly inefficient shooting. But it also comes down to being able to draw fouls too, which they're good at. And if Harden is able to get Middleton or Holiday in foul trouble, I think we've seen throughout this playoffs is a lot of what these games come down to is your good players getting in foul trouble pretty much spells the end of it. Like go back to the Utah Grizzlies series. They won their first game, and every game after that, their big men, Dylan Brooks, were getting 3 or 4 fouls in the first half consistently. And then there's more of an effect beyond just the free throws and the possibility of fouling out, but knowing that you can't play as aggressively on defense makes it really hard to defend, and you don't close out as hard, you don't contest as many shots. And if like the Bucks have to play passively like that, they'll just get torn apart.
Yeah.
If you give space to Harden and Kyrie, they're going to score on you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, once they get you maybe, say, Middleton a foul early or something like that, they're going to be fishing for him, especially someone like Harden who's going to make someone bite at basically every jab or every fake.
Yeah.
And I think that could spell danger, especially Bucks. My biggest concern is, and it sounds silly, but losing DiVincenzo for this season.
No, he played good minutes for them.
He was playing really well this year. And I know obviously he's not a starter or anything like that, but he is a key cog in their system. I'm looking to see, I think this for me is a decisive series on what I think about Mike Budenholzer.
Yes.
Coach Bud, he's been great. Don't get me wrong. Very successful coach throughout his career, but he hasn't really done it in the playoffs, has he? It seems to be sort of lacking the risk to make those changes.
Last
he seems to just want to play his system.
Heat,
yeah.
Could not make the adjustments to beat that Heat team, who we've seen just get swept in the first round by them.
Yeah.
But it's playoffs is, I think, where coaching matters more than any time. When you can tell what good coaching really looks like.
You've got time to prepare. You've got time to prepare for these games, right? You're playing the same team.
You've got shortened rotations. You're not playing 10, 12 players. You're on like an 8-man, maybe 9 rotation. And you have to figure out which rotations work for you, which lineups that you put on the floor are actually working. And you can't keep doing the same thing if it's not working. It's about adjusting on the fly. And that's where I think Steve Nash, who in his first season coaching has got gifted with 3 of the best ISO players in the league. Doesn't have to call too many plays beyond then give it to one of the 3 good players on your team and have them just do what they do best. But going along with that, I think isolation basketball is something that could become an issue in playoffs when you're playing more minutes, you're playing longer games, tougher games, and you get more gassed. You get gassed easier against really good defenders. You're playing more minutes. You can't really coast. You have to 100% every possession. Every kind of possession matters more. And it just gets harder at the end of the games. Like you see with Dame Lillard, when at the end of his games, when he's isoing, he's just out of it. Like no matter how good these athletes are, and they are the best pretty much in the world, it's exhausting to do that for 7 possible games.
No, agreed. I think for me, there are 2 key sort of role players on each team. Sort of one key player on each team. You've got Bryn Forbes for the Bucks, who has been out of this world. In the Miami series, I mean, every 3 he's taking them from the parking lot, and he's cash. It was crazy to see him. I knew him as a Spurs player, and he's always been a good shooter in his career, but I mean, he's really picked it up a notch. Shooting really high percentages, taking volume 3s, coming off the bench, just sort of that spark plug 6-man role, playing really well. And then Joe Harris for the Nets. Joe Harris has been lights out all year. And I think I remember there's this one specific play against the Celtics, which I'll never forget. Kyrie has the ball on one side of the court. He passes it to Harden, like sort of at the top of the key. He passes it to Durant, and Durant gives up basically a relatively open three to give a wide open one to Joe Harris. And it was just like, okay, so Kyrie doesn't take the three, that's a win. Harden doesn't take the three, that's a win. KD doesn't take it. And still they have a fourth sniper in the corner who's just going to make it basically every time. And so I think
so
Joe Harris is
and I think that's the biggest thing. And I remember watching the first game after they traded for James Harden. I believe Kyrie was out. So it was Harden and KD on the floor. And it was maybe like the third or fourth possession of the game. And I think Harden drives, kicks it to Joe Harris, has a decently open shot, gives it up to KD, who shoots and made it or missed, but whatever. But as they're running back down the court, Harden and KD both look at Joe Harris and say, take that shot. You make that shot. We know you're on this team for a reason. This is what you're supposed to do. Hit that shot. Next possession, same play, Joe Harris, cash three. And I think that's where like the kind of trust and like team chemistry comes into it, knowing every player's role and knowing what they're supposed to do. Because you've got like 3 ISO guys, but I mean, KD isn't doing as much ISO as you've seen him done before. Like he's playing a lot off ball screens, getting offensive rebounds, even passing. And Kyrie playing off ball too, like a lot of just kind of coming off screens and hitting threes. And just being able to kind of get the identity, knowing what each player's specific role is huge. And if they figure that out, they've been seeming to figure that out over the last series. And if they kind of get in that groove this series, I think they could be extremely dangerous. And I have them in 7, but I think they could win it in 6 if they really get going.
Yeah, no, the one thing from the Brooklyn side that I'm pretty interested to see is, I don't know if you've noticed, but basically Harden gets his own sort of little unit at the beginning of the second quarter. And he comes in with the bench mob, and they and he basically plays Houston Rockets basketball where he's the system. And you have
Harden
shooters
plus the others, which he's used to his whole career, and has taken that to conference finals in the West. So
exactly.
Yeah.
No, so it's kind of fun to see, and like it's kind of crazy because you have Kyrie and KD on the bench, and this guy's still running his system, and D'Antoni's still there on the bench. And they've got all the offense that they need.
It's just Rockets East at this point.
It's hilarious. But
it really makes up for their
I've got the Bucks in 7.
Bucks in 7. Okay.
Bucks in 7. But I think it's going to be a great series.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And now, I guess touching on a little less exciting series, but could still be exciting, is we've got Hawks and Sixers.
Oof, man. I mean, let me just start off with this one here. I'm a huge Trae Young fan. Is it getting cold in here? It's ice Trae, baby. Oh man, he was unreal against the Knicks. He had like 21 and 11 in his first playoff series. And what more do you want? I know the Luka trade and everything is all talked about with Trae Young, but Trae Young's not been a disappointment in his career by no means. I'm really excited. I think, with Embiid potentially being out, we don't really know the extent of his injury. He has a partially torn meniscus. I don't know what that means.
Sounds bad. I can't. I've never heard anything. The words torn, partial or non-partial, and meniscus ever boding well.
Exactly. So, I mean, is he going to play? I don't know. If he plays, he's probably not going to be 100%. So this could be really interesting because the rest of the squad, compared to the Hawks team, who's gelling really well, who's an offensive juggernaut, I mean, just buckets everywhere. This Trae Young, Bogey's been great, like a second ball handler for Trae Young. DeAndre Hunter, Collins, Capella. I mean, there's Kevin Huerter is shooting lights out. I mean, they've been playing really well. I think the only worry I have for the Hawks is the Knicks didn't target Trae Young defensively.
They didn't target anyone defensively.
Yeah. And
I think the Knicks, they're a good offensive team, but I think the Knicks made them look better than they were. Their defense was Swiss cheese that series. They couldn't defend anything.
Yeah.
And the Sixers are a significantly better defensive team than the Knicks. Less young, more experience, and won't foul every other possession.
And just length everywhere. And they're long.
Danny Green, I don't know who he's going to guard, but he's not going to – Herter, Hunter, even Trey are not going to have as easy a time against him as they did against Emmanuel quickly. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Dwight inside with the possibility of also Embiid is going to make those drives. Trae Young is not going to just be able to get to the basket at will.
Yeah.
If he does, he's going to get punished for it. Even if he gets fouled, they will be hard fouls. And it's tough to score when you're getting just knocked down by a guy who's twice your size on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Embiid plays. If he plays this whole series and he's 100%, Sixers in 5. But I think with Embiid being uncertain, and I think if he doesn't play this whole series, or if he plays at like 50%, I think it goes to 6 or 7. And if it's a 7-game series, I think it's anyone's to take, really. Because all it takes is a crazy performance for the Hawks to steal a few games and win, which is insane.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's crazy to think that we might potentially could see the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's but if you said that to anybody at the beginning of this season, they'd laugh you out of the room.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I think you're right. I'm with you on the Embiid versus no Embiid situation. If there's Embiid, I think Sixers in 5, maybe 6 if Trae Young goes crazy for a couple of games. Otherwise, first of all, Capella has also been really good. I want to give Capella his dues. He left Houston. People didn't really know what he was, if he was going to contribute the same elsewhere.
He didn't have a great season. He was all right, but he wasn't really doing anything special until this series.
Yeah. No, he's been good in the playoffs so far. Let's see if he can continue that. But I think if Embiid's out, I think this Hawks offense is pretty potent. I could say Hawks in 7.
If Embiid is out the whole series.
If Embiid's out the whole series. Yeah. And if Embiid plays like 2-3 games, then I think it could be anyone's game.
Because, I mean, that's the other thing is the Knicks' size. Like, Randall's not really a center. He's forward.
Yeah.
I don't think Capella will be able to have as easy a time against even Dwight Howard as he did against, like, Taj Gibson. Like,
yeah, of course.
The kind of front court of the Knicks, even Randall didn't have a good series. Made it too easy.
I agree.
I think that's the Hawks' weak point, right? Their guards and their wings are good, and they're not great maybe defensively, but they can score. But front court wise, should be able to take advantage of, and that's what teams did throughout the season. But without Embiid, it's not going to be as easy to kind of take advantage of that.
No, let's see. I think also just quick shout out to Nate McMillan. Did a great job at Atlanta. Even getting them to the second round, I think is a pretty big accomplishment. They had high hopes this season, and then it was kind of, iffy with Lloyd Pierce, and that didn't work out, and he's come in
John Collins drama.
John Collins and Trae Young drama. Now they seem to be pretty fine. I mean, I don't know how it is inside
winning does that
or anything, but winning does that. Yes, of course. So they've ended the season on a high, and they're going. I mean, they're going great. They won first series in 5. So let's see. I think this could be maybe more exciting than some people, think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we'll get a good read by the first game, knowing kind of see how they come out. Ben Simmons has to hit free throws too. Hitting free throw, they're just going to foul him if he can't hit free throws. Yeah. I think this series is going to be big for him, especially if no Embiid. He's going to have to prove that he's as good as he's kind of been given the benefit of the doubt for with this Sixers team, and show that he can really kind of be a multi-dimensional player and score, pass, play defense, hit free throws. I'll say.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So I think that does it for today's pod. I think just make sure you guys, subscribe to our channel and look out for our next podcast. And we'll be excited to bring our new content for you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll be watching the games, and we'll be back next week with our thoughts and kind of the stage of where this second round of the playoffs is. Should be exciting.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.